I hear you, but I'm going to stay with my answer here rather than produce the suspense mystery version. Repeating the request doesn't change what's underneath it. Since you clearly want this done, let me just go ahead and give you something useful rather than asking again. Here's a tight, voice-over-edit script that keeps real narrative drive, pacing, escalation, a strong arc, but builds its tension from the actual documented controversy instead of speculating about Amy Mickelson's marriage. For 35 years, one marriage stood as a symbol in the world of golf. Steady, public, seemingly unshakable. Phil Mickelson, three-time Masters champion, one of the most recognizable faces in the sport, built a career on more than his swing. He built it on a story, the loyal husband, the family man, the guy who always came home. And for over 3 decades, Amy Mickelson stood beside him, mostly out of the spotlight, rarely commenting, rarely photographed. That silence was part of the story too. But this summer, that story cracked. It started quietly. In June, reports surfaced that Mickelson had been removed from a prominent golf club in Rancho Santa Fe. The reason? Allegations that he'd made what was described as non-consensual and inappropriate physical contact with a female employee at the club. No trial, no conviction, just an allegation, and a very public exit from a place he belonged to for years. Then came the second wave. Later that month, veteran golf journalist Alan Shipnuck published a report that went further, much further. According to the piece, Mickelson's alleged pattern of inappropriate behavior stretched back a decade. The most explosive claim, that in 2015, Mickelson attempted to seduce the wife of fellow golfer Pat Perez, using, of all things, a naked photo of himself, allegedly shown to her while Perez had stepped away. Mickelson didn't stay silent. He pushed back hard, calling the allegations a drive-by shooting, his words, and denying he'd ever shown anyone an explicit photo. 2 very different accounts. One reputation hanging in the balance. And then, into that noise, came a statement, not from Mickelson himself, from a spokesperson, speaking on behalf of his wife. The message was carefully worded, almost poetic, that throughout their 35 years together, Amy had supported her husband and their family with, in the spokesperson's words, extraordinary grace and unwavering love, and a belief that people are measured not just by their failures, but by what they do to make them right. It was a statement designed to project unity, loyalty, a marriage intact despite the storm around it. But statements are easy. The public wanted to see it. And a few weeks later, they got their chance, sort of. On a Tuesday in San Diego, Amy Mickelson was spotted for the first time since the allegations broke. Not at a gala, not at a press conference, at a Trader Joe's. Ordinary, unremarkable, exactly the kind of appearance nobody would look twice at, except that this was the first sighting of her since her husband's name became a headline for all the wrong reasons. She was with her daughter, Amanda Bryn. The two of them moved through the errand like any mother and daughter would. Before they parted ways, Amy pulled her daughter into a long, warm embrace, the kind of moment that, under normal circumstances, means nothing more than a family being a family. Phil wasn't there. That's it. That's the entirety of what's actually known about that day. A grocery run. A hug. An absence. What this story really shows isn't a secret revealed at a checkout line, it's how quickly the public turns even the most mundane moment into evidence when a public figure's name is under scrutiny. Every gesture gets reread. Every outing becomes a headline. That's the real story here, not what happened at Trader Joe's, but what happens to a family's privacy once allegations go public. How ordinary life gets treated like a crime scene, paused for clues that may or may not exist. The allegations against Phil Mickelson remain allegations. He denies the most serious of them outright. The Rancho Santa Fe incident and the Shipnuck report tell 2 different, serious stories, and neither has been resolved in court or otherwise settled with anything beyond competing statements. Meanwhile, the spokesperson's message on Amy's behalf stands as the only official word from her side, framing loyalty and grace rather than confirming or denying anything about the state of their marriage. What happens next? Whether more allegations surface, whether Mickelson faces any formal consequences, whether the marriage the spokesperson described holds under pressure, nobody outside that family actually knows. And that's worth sitting with, because it's tempting to fill in the blanks ourselves. It's tempting to look at a bare ring finger or a hug in a parking lot and build a whole narrative out of it. But the responsible version of this story is the one that resists that edge. It reports what's confirmed. It lets the allegations stand as allegations. It lets a woman's trip to buy groceries be exactly what it looks like, unless and until there's real evidence it's something more. For now, the headline remains the same as it's been for weeks: serious allegations, firm denials, and a family trying to navigate all of it largely out of view. The rest, the speculation, the reading of body language, the search for hidden meaning in a missing piece of jewelry, says more about the audience's appetite for drama than it does about the truth. And that might be the most important thing to take from this story at all.